officially. So we have a quorum. We can
do a roll call.
We will try to do a roll call. So let's just go around the room. You could call the roll, Kelly.
Yeah. India Beal. I don't see India. Well, if somebody who's absent drops in, I will announce it. Cliff Dussel.
Here.
David Finn.
Here.
Dara Silver. Dara Silver. I see you. I see you. Betsy Towns.
Here.
Elizabeth Rapetti. Elizabeth told me that she couldn't make it today. Owens Daniels.
Here.
Jane Debb.
Here.
And Jason Thiel.
Try Dara again.
Dara.
Okay, well, the first thing we could do is fairly quick, if everybody is in agreement, or we can take a vote on the approval of our summary minutes from last time. Actually, it's quite a session. There was a lot there, but if you have taken a look at those notes, I'm hoping that somebody will make a motion to approve those.
So moved to approve. This is Jane.
Do I have a second for moving to approve the minutes from last time?
I approve to move the minutes.
Thank you, Owen. All in favor? We could just do a hand or voice vote on that. Okay, looks like we have unanimous, except for Dara. Dara, if you're there, speak up and we'll know you're present. Okay.
And so I told you all that Susie Pollock would join the meeting and make a request for a letter of support on a project. We could have her in the public comment period, or since she's here and we have a couple members of the media here, if you all wanted to move her up so that they all don't have to wait through the whole meeting to get to that.
Either way is fine. Either way is fine.
Oh, sure. I think I'm seeing that we have a quorum. So move up to this slot. Cliff, Betsy, Owens, Jason, Jane, and David.
All right. Well, you're on, Susie.
Okay. Well, thank you all for hosting me. It's very kind, and certainly very kind to bump me up to the beginning. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't know if everybody knew what this project was about. There was a gentleman who used to work at the downtown CVS. We live in the Piedmont Leaf Lofts, so my stroll up and down 4th Street is endless. I go to restaurants, I go to everything up and down there. But the CVS was always my stopping point for a lot of, just errands. And behind the counter, this gentleman was always there. He was just sort of a ray of light. He was someone who people responded to so wonderfully that his name was Tior Terry. And my last conversation with him was on Valentine's Day, and then very sadly, he was actually murdered on Valentine's Day. I'm not sure what the situation was. I think there's an ongoing investigation, but the outpouring from the community that I began to see on Facebook was unbelievable. Everybody knew him. Everybody had a kind word to say about him. I mean, people really couldn't say enough about this man. He was just such a special soul. So when I saw this beginning to be on Facebook, I created a page that said, honoring the life of Tior Terry. And one of our good friends, Marianne DiNapoli, had done the wonderful mural, which I'm sure you all know, on the one side of the CVS on 4th Street. And it occurred to me that it would be a lovely gesture for the whole community to have Tior's wonderful face put on the other side, on the other wall of the CVS. Well, I have been in touch with the corporate of CVS, and unfortunately, for a lot of reasons, which they, have gently said no to this project being there. So on the Facebook page, honoring his life, there are at present about 173 people. My idea is to do, probably a GoFundMe project to raise money to get a mural done in his name. Marianne would like to be involved in this. Many people have said they would donate whatever's needed, money, paint, work, actual work from the community, students who want to help paint it. So at this point, what we have is a lot of people who have an interest in doing this. A lot of people who would love to see this as one of the faces of the downtown Winston. And what I need from the commission is probably a letter of support. Not looking for any funding, but what I do need is some direction as to where I can go to possibly try and ask to have this mural painted. So that's really what I want to throw out to all of you. If you have any ideas whatsoever, it would have been the most meaningful, obviously, would have been on the side of the CVS. Is where he worked for years and years. People knew him from there, but there's many other parts of Winston that knew him as well. So I would just kind of throw that out to the commission if you have any suggestions whatsoever. If you have any, I'll be taking those back to another Zoom meeting following this one of all the people from the Facebook page who are anxious to hear if there's any possibilities.
Thank you, Susie.
Yep.
Let's have some feedback, Susie, on this and give her some ideas.
Okay, great.
Anybody want to?
Thank you for being here with us, Susie. So I'm just curious. You said his beautiful face, and I'm wondering if you're envisioning a portrait. And
yes, I was thinking. I have there's a woman, Kim Terry, who is a wonderful artist who's done quite a few portraits of Tior for the family. I actually have one on my desktop. If I try and share my desktop, I'm not real tech savvy about Zoom meetings, but if I shared my desktop, would you all be able to see this as a possibility?
I think so.
Okay.
Let me try. Co-host.
So if I just share screen, that's not getting my screen. Let's see. Okay, is that anybody being able to see that or no?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay. I don't think as a participant, maybe I'm not getting the whole, maybe I'm not getting you to share my screen. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to hit share screen and then pick. It'll show you a number of boxes and then.
Okay, so
pick box.
One participant can share at a time. And all I get is desktop one. Is that mine?
Probably.
Okay, let me try that one.
There we go.
Okay, so let me minimize this.
You have a portrait down there.
Yep. Okay, so is that something you all can see now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so she's done multiple portraits. They're all just wonderful and colorful. And this one doesn't actually have his wonderful smile, but that's that's her picture of him right now, so.
Hey, I'm going to ask Betsy and Owens, who are doing a mural on a kind of fabric right now about that technology and what you are doing with that. Would that be something that might be appropriate? And sometimes I know that people that own property are more able or more willing to put up something that isn't paint on a building.
Right.
Might be that kind of a screen or that kind of effect.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if that's something. Is it movable then, or is it just a screen that gets installed on the wall?
I'll let Bessie go first.
Okay.
So the mural that we're designing will be printed on vinyl, and it will be essentially permanently installed, although the installation is just a matter of a handful of bolts into the masonry walls. One thing about that is that the mural that we're building will be out of reach of the public, and so it could be very fragile to a knife or a tool, could damage it pretty significantly. So it's very permanent as far as weather and wind and that kind of damage and light and sunlight. But in terms of it would need to be up out of reach a little bit. But certainly that would be an option. And as David implies, it's not as intimidating for a building owner. I'm trying to envision that exact corner as well, because I could also imagine there being a wall in eyesight of the CVS, where it would be connected to that building, even if it's not.
There's not much there, actually. It's at the corner of 4th and Trade. Okay, and if you know that corner, this caddy corner, across the street from 4th Street is really the construction of the park. So there's no building right there that would be an eyesight there. The building that caddy corner faces on Trade, I believe, is the one where a store just went out of business. So that is an empty storefront right now. Jason, you might know a little better than me which one I'm talking about. Do you know which store I'm talking about that has?
I do, and I would volunteer to work with you one-on-one with site location, give you the reach to person, and then you could get their permission. If it's something where they're not having, and I've done a lot of this over the years with other private muralists, and it is getting more challenging because the business owners are more reluctant because they know that they have an imminent sale coming.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we can't get creative. There's a lot of spaces that we can work on, and if the committee would like, I would be happy to work one-on-one with Susie and try to secure a specific site that would meet their goals. And if we can, I think would we be able to just simply say we want to write a letter of support for Susie and Mary Ann to do a mural somewhere in our city to honor
Tior Terry is the name.
Yeah, Tior and Terry, and that this would be on private property with private resources. If it changes from that to a public location and public funds, then you'll be coming to us with a whole different scope.
Right.
I was going to say that I saw on Facebook as well, a lot of my friends knew Tior Terry, and so I saw about his tragic death in my news feed.
Yeah.
And I may be wrong, but was Tior transgender? Possibly.
He was. I probably should have the family speak to you about that.
Yeah, because I know they're still investigating the kind of the circumstances behind his death. I don't know whether, because we don't know at this point whether it was a hate crime or whether, so it could be more than just,
it was listed as a robbery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody knows much more about it than that, but
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's definitely some possibilities, especially I think as more information is brought out, maybe it's best to like talk to the family, right? And find out more of his story, especially in terms of designing the mural, right?
Right.
And maybe even the impact that he made in the community. So I think that's great that you have a group of individuals already. Is the family aware of this and kind of behind this?
Absolutely. As I said, I have this Facebook page with the approval of especially Tior's mom, Velma, who then was in charge of inviting many of the family members to join the Facebook page. Like I said, after this Zoom, I'll be doing a Zoom meeting to catch everybody up on where we stand and what you all suggested.
So they're saying it's a robbery. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure whether or not if that was the case, but yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely some. I mean, in terms of a memorial, could be really beautiful. I walked away, Betsy. I didn't hear what you said in terms of. I missed what you had said earlier.
Oh, sorry. Mostly it's just that one of his good friends who'd known him for about 10 years, her name is Kim Terry, the portrait that I finally managed to pull up on my screen so that you all could see, she's done many portraits of him for the family. That's not necessarily the one that they would approve as the mural, and that would certainly be something we'd work with the family, whether they just wanted a picture of his face, whether they wanted anything, his name, his dates, born and died, whatever, or if they wanted a quotation, anything like that. But we would obviously be working very closely with the family to approve whatever we go ahead with. And so that's where we stand on that right now.
Yeah.
If it's a question of putting it on vinyl and not having it as a permanent mural, then I may try and just go back to the CVS and say, does that change your feeling about this? Because I think a lot of their feeling, like you said, Jason, there's a lot of feelings about something being permanent that is a little worrisome. That means they worry about upkeep, they worry about a lot of things. So there was a lot of reasons that they very gently turned this down, but it might change it if it were, a mural that wasn't painted directly onto their wall. So I can certainly address that.
And Susie, I'd be glad to share the name of the printer that is working with us. And I think India also has some good resources on printers as well, who that I probably have that forwarded by India that I can share with you too.
Here, I'll put it in back.
Thank you.
So I don't mean to take up a lot of your time on the commission, but like I said,
it seems.
If I could also kind of share just kind of, having been a part of the conversation and the creation of the Public Art Commission and all these conversations for a long time, I know that you guys and myself now are part of the actual commission. Really, it's anticipated that this would be a private mural on private property, and really outside of the scope of this Public Art Commission. So, that's really the intent. And it wasn't really until CVS said they want the support of the city in order for them to consider it. So it was here today, the first time I had heard you say that, they had kind of backed out of their kind of conceptual support for it, Susie. So maybe that'll change. But, at the end of the day, I think we would all want to support, private murals on private property. It becomes, quasi-public, but, it's not necessary for you to get the support of the Public Art Commission to do this.
Right.
And just speaking, purely factual, but, the question then becomes, do we want to write you a blanket letter of support for something that we don't know the location for yet? And, that's really not up to me. That's up to the full group here. And, I'd be in favor of it, but it would be provided that you have the permission of the property owner and the family. And that's what I would make a motion for if I've offered the opportunity.
I wonder if we could make a motion to write a letter of support once we know more, like we're making the motion that we would like to support this project, and that when you have your location, we can write a better letter because we know what we're, and if it's, Mary Ann doing the piece, or if it's, I didn't hear the artist's first name, Terry?
Yeah, the other lady's name was Kim Terry.
Kim, so that we would know what it is that we're endorsing. I think it would be a stronger position for us to work from.
And also by that time, if I had an idea from the family exactly what they were thinking of. His portrait is just sort of my idea because I saw this wonderful portrait that Kim Terry had made of him. But, perhaps it would be something else. So that would certainly be great for me if I'll work with Jason privately, and then if we come up with a specific location, whether it's the CVS or something, I could give it back to the commission and just ask for a letter of support on that.
I think if you would like, we could probably draft a very short letter, just an approval of the concept of the concept that would start it rolling. You could show that to CVS and say, you're still looking for sites, so we don't have a real endorsement of an artwork. We just have an endorsement of the concept of a memorial to your.
That would be great.
Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, well, then I would rescind my motion in favor of something along those lines, Mr. Chair there.
Okay. Kelly, have you got it down, what I've mentioned?
Yeah, so it would be a letter of support of the concept of a memorial mural. Would it be to CVS at this point, or is it?
No,
I would leave it open with with a site that it's not yet determined, and artwork not yet determined, but we endorse the concept of this.
Could we talk about it first? Like have a discussion first and then maybe ultimately make a decision? I have a couple of thoughts.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know right now. Later we could. Yeah.
Okay. But do you want to hold off until we have, like, I can't remember who suggested it, maybe it was Jason, hold off until we have a person to present a letter to? So right now it would just be like to whom it may concern.
If you could address it to me so that I can present it to whoever
so Susie Pollock, we support your, okay.
That'd be great. Yep. And India, if there's anything you wanted to know, I'm happy to, chat off of Zoom or you
definitely,
can.
that sounds great. I'll get your contact information from Kelly.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and so I'll be in touch with you. And once we get a location and you get the artwork finalized, we'll come back for the formal, and then everybody can talk about it and, provide, all the feedback that they would feel comfortable with. And I think you guys would welcome that too. So does that sound about right, Susie?
Yep, that sounds perfect.
That way, when India has some comments or anybody else has comments, and maybe I'll have some comments, we'll all be able to feel some ownership in it, and it'll be a great day when it's unveiled.
I'll just put my cell phone in here, and anybody can feel free to just call me if they need to. So thank you all for your time. I don't think there's anything else I will take your time up with.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for hosting me.
Thank you. Okay.
I guess this is just me playing devil's advocate, and I guess I can say this, is that the investigation into his death is still ongoing, right? And so though I do think it's beautiful in terms of creating a mural to honor someone. But when someone dies tragically from murder, I think that before we decide to endorse certain things, that we should fully know exactly whom we are endorsing. Because he could be a wonderful person that worked at the CVS. I have a lot of friends who are wonderful, who are also drug dealers, right? Like, I'll be honest, right? I have a lot of wonderful friends who are also doing other things that I do not approve of, but I know, right? So like, I just say, like, I think before the commission fully endorses, you know, a situation, especially when something happens so tragically, I think you need to get the full story, the full picture, before you make that kind of endorsement. Not saying that he does not deserve, I'm not saying that at all. You know, 100%, I think that it will be a beautiful memory. But I also think that, you know, I've had friends who died tragically, and I also know some of the life they led. So I'm just saying, I think we should get a full picture before we decide to say, yes, this is a wonderful thing to honor this particular person. You know, and even if we have a full picture and still move forward, at least we have a full picture before we move forward. Does that, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong. You know, I got a lot going on in my life right now, but this is just my own personal thoughts. I just think it's better to have a full picture of a person, especially if you're going to stick them on the wall of a building that's endorsed by the Public Art Committee for the city of Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was thinking the same thing as you were. I just didn't know an appropriate time to bring it up.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was appropriate to bring it up during our conversation. I kind of wanted us just to talk about it, you know, together, public-private, because this is public-private. But I do think, you know, I think that, you know, there's a lot of people, when you start putting people on murals and walls, there's a lot of people in Winston-Salem that will want to, you know, this will be a big deal, especially if we endorse it, right? And so they'll say this was a tragic death of this young man, you know, but like I said, we don't know what kind of life this young man was leading. Mm-hmm. And though he may deserve, his life, obviously he's left a legacy and people want to support that legacy. But I think before we endorse the legacy, especially if this is a private thing, that's one thing. But if we're endorsing this private thing, let's make sure we know what we're endorsing before we start putting all of our backing behind something that we clearly don't know anything about. That's my thoughts. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm glad that you spoke up. I really am, because I think that you've got a very good point. And I don't know, I mean, how long has it been since, so Valentine's Day, the 14th, so it's been only a couple of weeks. Right. So there's still time to go to an investigation. And I hope that they can proceed, but I think you ought to have a conversation. If you would have a conversation with Susie Pollock, India, and express this, I think it would be helpful for them to know that there's maybe one more step they may want to take before they go for it.
Well, I don't necessarily want to be the spokesperson. I wasn't volunteering my services. I was just saying that, you know, I saw this was a lot of my friends knew him. So I'm from Winston, right? So I saw a lot of the love and support in my news feed. And I was thinking, oh, that, you know, but, you know, then I think privately, if Susie decides to do this based on her relationship, then I think she should do it, you know, but I think when we start writing letters, before we do that, I just think we should do our own due diligence, our own research before we start saying, yes, we're going to sign off on this private thing that's happening. Especially think about the number of people who come to us and ask us to do murals dedicated to people, right? And so if we're signing off on something, even if we're not providing funding, we're providing support. And so I just think we should know exactly what happened, right, in terms of his death, and be aware of that. Even if we decide to move forward, I think we should just at least have a better understanding before we start writing letters of supporting something, because that's how it's going to be pitched in the news. the Public Art Commission of the city of Winston-Salem supporting, that's how it's going to go out, right? Like that makes it even more special, right? So I just think we need to do our own, have our own understanding before we move forward. That's my own thoughts.
Well, I think one of the things, I really didn't know that CVS had said no to them. And it was their prerequisite that they get city approval. So I had directed them to the council member and then said if that, wasn't the best avenue, then the Public Art Commission might be another to consider, at least just to confirm that you don't need to get city approval. And so that's really where, in my conversations with them, normally my tack would be don't involve the Public Art Commission if you don't need to involve the Public Art Commission, because this, we have a larger consideration, and I think then that it's a committee that has to decide it, and there's a larger consideration in general than just a private consideration. So if we're able to find them a private space, maybe I might just tell them, if it really isn't a concern of the Public Art Commission and it doesn't need to be, then maybe we just avoid bringing it back for consideration if it's not necessarily a something that's really required. And that's what I would suggest to them if they decide to. I didn't really ask them to come for consideration in the first place. I just gave them the name of the people from CVS because I had helped Mary Ann repoint the mural that had been on CVS for a long time, and we gave a grant for them and worked out the relationship to add some lighting above it. So I knew the CVS people, and so if that's off the table, then I'll talk to Susie and just tell her that we may not need to even come back to the Public Art Commission, only because it just isn't needed, but for any other reason, it's a step that isn't required if it's entirely private. So we'll see what happens, but I presume that'll probably be the case. But if we go back to the CVS and they say they want city approval, it's not really required. It's kind of them putting off the approval to somebody else. It's so.
Well, I love the idea that it came. I think, one of the beautiful things about having the Public Art Commission in my mind is that we can help kind of guide the kind of art that is on murals and walls, so we don't want people just putting stuff up, right? Like, so we would love to be a part of the conversation. I think that's always, great. I'm just speaking for myself. I think that's always great to be a part of the conversation, especially when murals go up and things like that are permanent in the city. I just think that for us, we would just need to do a little bit before we said yes to this letter. I just think we should do our own, have our own understanding, whether it's we're talking to, have our own kind of understanding of the situation.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Before we say, yeah. That's all I'm saying.
We're on the same page. I understand where you're coming from, and I totally respect what you're saying, and I totally understand what you're saying, and that's why it's a committee and a committee discussion. I'm just trying to be in full disclosure as possible. Really at the end of the day, there'll be people that want to do private murals that just won't come, and we want some to do that. We want to be involved in it, but there'll be some that don't, but, when it's private property, they can do what they want to with it, I suppose. But it'd be nice if we could, play a positive role in it. So I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
At least I am.
And that's why I asked, I thought he was, from his profile, I thought he was transgender. So I thought, was this a hate? Was it more than just a robbery? Because even in that case, I think there's so many, that's something that's happening across the country, right? In terms of people having, those kind of things happening. So I think there's just more to learn, in terms of who he was, his impact in the community, the legacy he wanted to leave. I think all of those are questions I would like to ask before we decided to draft a letter, to support.
I definitely agree with you, India. And so I think we should track the story and we should try to, find out more about it. And I agree also with Jason that it's not something that is necessary either. If we can help people do something good, that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
if we can help somebody do something good. So we may have to wait a little bit to find out what that is in this case. I hear you. That's good.
Sure.
I really appreciate this conversation as well, and I think it ties to the opening conversation kind of before the minutes about the monuments project and how does one do really great work. And that in this case, I think having more heads on the project will make it into a stronger project, but also I'd be glad to talk to Susie from the point of view of, like, if she's leading this project, she will get lots of questions about what happened. And your point, India, also about the family and having the family involved and knowing, like, what does the family feel comfortable is the response to various questions, and what do we know about the person's life that we want to make sure everyone knows who's talking about this mural. So I think I'd be happy to talk to Susie and just say, we'd like to know more before we write this letter. And we also think that it would make, it would be helpful to her and to the group to also know more, so that they're sharing the same story as they're, and that they're answering questions with sensitivity to the family.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, she popped up her phone number, and if you want to call her, that'd be great. And if you guys haven't communicated, I'll reiterate that point to her if she calls me to start looking for sites and everything. But yeah, I think that'd be great. She'd probably appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you so much. That would be great.
Okay. The next item on the agenda kind of grew out of a conversation after last month's meeting, and it's a shame Dara had complications connecting to the meeting, so she can't be part of it. But
the Charlotte Hornets, Charlotte, gateway to Gastonia, regional banking capital of the world. No mountains.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
God. I'm sorry, that's just so embarrassing.
Dara asked, since all of the public art projects kind of go through a committee process and kind of get that committee feedback and that committee conversation to help develop a project, why not also do that when somebody applies, like Rhythm, Bedell did last month for the jukebox therapy project? Why not send that through kind of a project application committee just to kind of help develop the project? And then when it comes to the full public art commission, we say, the committee looked at this and the committee endorses this and recommends approval, instead of doing that work in the full meeting. Other commissions do that. They have like a rolling deadline. It might be quarterly, it might be once a year, it might be every month for such a committee to meet. So it makes sense from that point of view, but wanted to kind of open that for discussion, see if that's something you all wanted to pursue in the future.
Anybody? I certainly think it's a good idea. We haven't had that many situations like that, No,
that might have been the first one. No, it was the second one. Betsy's was the first one.
But I mean, my thought is, I think that's a great idea. And I think it actually makes me think, well, could we do some of our committee meetings inside this time? Because we actually have had some bandwidth. We haven't had, a gigantic volume of things to do inside our full public art commission meetings. On the flip side, the conversation that we had around the President Absence Project and around Rhythms Project, to me, it felt like we were working really well as a team, and I was learning from each of you, and I was I thought we were coming to conclusion about how we would work in that way. Like, what kinds of questions do we need to bring to the table? What kinds of thinking do we need to do together on this kind of project? And so there's something to having those kinds of full conversations with the committee periodically, at least, because we are then engaging with each other in a different way than we do when we're on our smaller projects and when we are a little bit more in charge of what the work is. So I don't know, I like the idea of moving in the direction of doing as Dara suggests, but maybe not in a hurry.
We're going to have another, I suspect, another application come in. Somebody from the Happy Hill neighborhood reached out to me yesterday just to say it's the 150th anniversary of the neighborhood and they have an idea for a mural. So that's something that might come through in the coming months too. So maybe the word's getting out that we have an application process, because we hadn't had any for years, and now we're getting them.
I mean, I think that if we did that, could we do that by making an ad hoc committee at the time where you would bring it to the full committee and then we could agree to set up? I mean, that's the way we have done this for specific projects, but I see no reason why we can't do this for projects that are being developed also.
Can do that.
And if it's something that we feel is, we can basically rubber stamp in 10 minutes, right? Then we can rubber stamp it in 10 minutes. But if it's going to be a more involved thing and need a little bit more thought and maybe some more resources, then that would be set up to have a smaller group meet. I mean, it may not cut down on the ultimate meeting time, and it could expand the ultimate meeting time. That's what I want to be careful of, because if we can't rubber stamp something in 10 minutes, then we're saving time to not set up a smaller group. Does that make sense? I mean, that's my practical mind thinking that we ought to try to do it that way if we can.
That makes sense to me, especially from a meeting standpoint, just because, it's hard to set up meetings, even when you have retired people on your committees. I always think that retired people, well, they should be able to meet whenever, but it's not the case. Everybody's got a schedule, and it's tough. The more people you get on a committee, our bus shelter committee only has 5 people on it, and I sent out 24 times for next week, and we only got 1 that everybody could meet on. So yeah.
Okay. Is that sufficient for our discussion on that point? So,
anybody feel strongly in another direction? This isn't something I don't think we need to vote on or anything. It's just, kind of a point moving forward.
okay, well, let's put that in the minutes, Kelly, and we can talk about it some more and talk about it really the next time one of these comes up, and set up an ad hoc committee. That's the best thing to do.
All right. Sounds good. I have a whole bunch of project reports. We have so many projects going on. I'll start with the one that's not on the list, which is the jukebox therapy that went to Recreation and Parks as an information item. It was basically just approved by staff saying, yes, we can host this on the Salem Lake Trail. And then I did a presentation at noon today to the Recreation and Parks Commission. They all seemed fine with it. It's going to the WISTA, the Transit Authority Board, in March. So they will talk about the bus shelter version of the jukebox at that meeting. Winston-Salem Portrait Project. I think you all got to save the date, and we discussed a while back the April 10th unveiling. What we're working on is installing all the pieces in late March, early April, with the sculpture being the last thing to be installed in early April. And then going to do an unveiling video instead of having a live unveiling that only a limited number of people can attend, since there were so many people involved with this project. So marketing communications is going to film that video. It'll have some people speaking who were involved with the portrait project. It'll have the artists. It'll probably have some city council members and the mayor. And it'll have some background on the project. You know, they've taken a lot of photos during, the development of the project. They've shot video. They're going to probably do some time-lapse video of some of the installations. So promises to be a good, compelling video. So we're really moving towards that. That's coming up in a little bit over a month. So hopefully some of you can attend. I should also say that there will be timed meet and greets at the sculpture on the 10th. So we'll have the unveiling online, and then smaller groups can come see the sculpture, maybe meet some of you, maybe meet some elected officials, see the sculpture, meet the artists. It'll probably go on a lot of the day. They say they want to break it up into smaller groups of between 25 to 50 people.
I was going to ask, is there any way, so I saw on Facebook that Keisha has COVID.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she has COVID. Her husband has COVID. The baby got COVID. And so I was wondering if we could send them like some flowers or like a get well card or just something from us, as she's kind of dealing with it. It's on Facebook. She put that I believe her son is like, okay, like he was only sick for like a day or two, and now he's better, but she and her husband are kind of going through it right now. Wow. So I was thinking maybe it'd be a nice gesture if we could send them something, a care package. I don't know, something we could do since we've been working with them for so long, just to show our support for them as they get through this challenging time.
It may be easier to, anybody who wants to contribute can Venmo, and I can, send some flowers their way, or I can see if there's a way to do it through the city, but I suspect it'll be faster to.
There's something, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I just saw it online and I was thinking that, maybe we could send them something, a care packet or something.
Something, if it would be possible to send them food or something that's more supportive.
Yeah.
Like a roast.
I don't know. Yeah. Let me go. Let me see. When did she post this? I'll tell you.
A Grubhub gift card.
That's, yeah, there you go.
Not a bad idea.
I mean, flowers, I don't know. I like flowers. I would like Grubhub gift cards too. You can do both. Let me see.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she recently, yeah, she posted it on the 27th. So, so maybe we could send them, I mean, I don't know, maybe we could talk about how much we all contribute and then that could go towards like something. I don't know what that, flowers run about $100, give or take. If you all want to do it, this is just me. If you all want to do it, I thought maybe nice gesture.
Yeah, no pressure. I'll send out an email to the whole group. If you want to participate, you can. We'll kind of figure out the budget where we are, and then we'll get the thing that we can.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
That sounds good. That's great.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for the portrait project? COVID memorial. We haven't met in a while, but I did send that official request to the county for the $10,000, which would be a match. So we'll see. There's no telling. And then I've been in touch with the public health director to see if they can supply a volunteer to serve on the committee. And he's responded to me twice. So, and he, I think, is a very busy person. So he will. My dog's going to start barking now. Artistic bus shelters. That group is meeting again next week. We have a really interesting list of shelters and history of the area surrounding those shelters that Michelle McCullough and our historic resources staff supplied. And our last round of bus shelters, we had our first casualty recently. The New Walkertown Road Maya Angelou shelter was smashed. So there was a hole through the window. So that's that for that one. But the other 11 are standing strong. Memory wall, probably sometime in the spring, summer. Buying hubcaps online, which is more involved than one might think. So I just thought I'd look at eBay and be like, I want a hubcap that's round and 9 inches, and no. So I've been contacting hubcap dealers on the internet.
You have to follow the city's purchasing code at the same time?
Oh my God. Yeah. I haven't even delved into it doesn't need to be a local vintage hubcap dealer to buy from. So that's in process.
Explain to the city. I can see that might be a hard one.
And then the downtown sculpture. My dog is lying around snorting. Downtown sculpture, the fabrication RFP has gone out with a March 23rd deadline. So we've seen a little bit of interest in that. So hopefully it'll come up soon. And then the public art plan is going to City Council Committee on March 16th. And if everything goes quick through there, it should go to City Council, I believe, on April 5th. So those are our projects.
Would you like us to show up for any of those meetings?
Maybe the maybe the city council meeting. But the committee meeting is probably not necessary. There's not any public comment at the committee meeting, and they like to keep it speedy. I know that agenda is actually really packed, so they're probably going to want to keep it moving. But maybe for the city council on the 5th, if you want to put that on there.
Is that before or after our next meeting? I don't have my calendar.
It is the day before.
Okay. So if you get in touch with us about that and take volunteers for doing that.
I will do that. And we had a little more work done on our public art map. And I will share my screen with you. Still working on some issues with this program. It's the map shows up really well and really fast on the mobile version of the app, but takes a very long time to load for some reason on the desktop version, which I'm showing you, and you can kind of see. You can see that gray box is where there's a map supposed to be.
Would that have anything to do with the image resolution that's going to the desktop versus the mobile version?
It must be. Our GIS people are looking into it. So can we knock it down? It's satellite imagery. Can we knock it down to something that's just like the vector graphics that you get in a simpler map, but for some reason it doesn't want to come up on the desktop. So it's something we're working on. And that is all I have. If you happy to answer any questions on any of those.
These are great. I'm looking at Phoebe's with the Peanut Man. I remember him. He used to come to our beauty salon and sell these like peanuts when I was in like elementary school and middle school. It was great. Like he was at like every salon I've ever gone to, Like he made his way around Winston. So I think it's just wonderful that she added him to the I haven't seen this before. It's really great. Yeah.
I've seen him in my office.
Oh, really? He makes his way around Winston. I mean, he's been around forever. I remember in high school, he used to come when I was getting my hair done selling peanuts and lemonade, Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I know all of these folks from my events very well. And Miss Councilmember Burke, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, obviously from her position, but Tony and the Peanut Man, Joe, are long participants with my events.
Right.
Yeah, so the artwork shows up pretty quick. The map, not so much, but we'll get it figured out.
Have they built new shelters? I saw a new shelter recently when I was out. Are they building new ones now too?
Yes, the new shelters are more like metal. I don't know if they're stainless. They're probably aluminum and more glass and fewer dividers. It's just glass upon glass. But then I've also seen some broken windows in those. So I don't know. But they look a lot nicer than the new ones.
Well, this is a rare meeting where we come to the end after only an hour and some change. But there's no need in extending this beyond that, right? Betsy has a comment about the story maps in there that just flashed up. But if anybody doesn't have anything else, I think we can adjourn. Is that okay?
Everybody's doing good. We could do like a mental check-in with everyone real quick.
I think we've done some good things today. So, I like the flowers or the roast idea. So, make sure you send that email out, Kelly, for Keisha.
Well, I respectfully move that we adjourn.
I'll second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
See you guys.
See you
Bye, guys.
in April.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, y'all.